January 15th, 1969. A baby is born in a small Dutch hospital. Within the first 24 hours, medical staff notice something that defies all logic. His core body temperature reads 89 degrees Fahrenheit. At this temperature, hypothermia should have already begun shutting down his vital organs. Brain function should be compromised. He should be dying. Instead, the baby is perfectly healthy, alert, responsive. His heart rate is normal. His breathing is steady. It's as if the laws of human biology simply don't apply to him. Fast forward 54 years. That same baby, now a man, can sit completely naked in sub-zero temperatures for hours without any protective gear. He's climbed 22,000 feet up Mount Everest wearing nothing but shorts and hiking boots. He's run a full marathon in the Namib Desert without drinking a single drop of water. Harvard Medical School, Cambridge University, and the Netherlands' top research institutions have studied him for over 3 decades. They've run every test imaginable: blood work, brain scans, genetic analysis, immune system challenges. The conclusion from every single study is the same. What this man can do should be impossible. His name is Wim Hof, and he's just one of 5 people walking among us right now with abilities that challenge everything we thought we knew about human limitations. What you're about to witness will make you question the very boundaries of human potential. These aren't magic tricks or clever illusions. These are real people with documented, scientifically observed abilities that have no explanation in modern medicine or biology. Prepare to have your understanding of what it means to be human completely shattered. Wim Hof, the Iceman. Meet Wim Hof, known worldwide as the Iceman. Born in Sittard, Netherlands in 1959, Wim appeared to be a completely normal child for the first 17 years of his life. Then, on a winter day in 1976, everything changed. Walking past a frozen canal, teenage Wim felt an inexplicable urge to jump into the icy water. His friends thought he was crazy. The water temperature was just above freezing. Most people would experience cold shock response within seconds, followed by hypothermia within minutes. But as Wim submerged himself in that freezing canal, something extraordinary happened. Instead of the expected shock and panic, he felt energized, alive, powerful. It was as if the cold wasn't draining his energy, it was feeding him. This caught the attention of researchers at Harvard Medical School, who put Wim through the most rigorous testing any human has ever endured. In one experiment, they injected him with bacterial endotoxins, essentially poison that triggers severe flu-like symptoms in every normal human being. In a typical person, these endotoxins cause fever, nausea, headaches, and severe inflammation within 30 minutes. Wim's immune system didn't just fight off the toxins, it completely ignored them. His body showed zero inflammatory response, zero symptoms. It was as if the poison simply didn't exist. Brain imaging revealed the impossible. Wim can consciously control his autonomic nervous system, the part of our nervous system that's supposed to operate completely outside of conscious control. Heart rate, body temperature, immune response, functions that should be automatic, Wim controls with his thoughts. In 2007, Wim attempted something that should have killed him. He climbed to 22,000 feet on Mount Everest, nearly to the summit, wearing nothing but shorts, hiking boots, and a wool hat. No jacket, no gloves, no protective gear of any kind. What Wim accomplished on Everest defies every principle of high-altitude medicine. At that elevation, in those temperatures, exposed skin should develop frostbite within minutes. Wim showed no signs of cold injury whatsoever. But perhaps most disturbing of all, Wim claims he can teach his abilities to others. In controlled studies, he's successfully trained volunteers to consciously suppress their immune responses, using only breathing techniques and mental focus. If Wim is right, the implications are staggering. Human biology might be far more malleable than we ever imagined. But Wim's power over his physical body pales in comparison to our next person, whose brain operates like a biological supercomputer that sees mathematics as living art. Daniel Tammet, the human calculator. Daniel Tammet doesn't just see numbers, he experiences them as living, breathing entities with personalities, colors, and emotions. When you look at the number 37, you see abstract symbols. When Daniel looks at 37, he sees a lumpy, bright blue shape that feels slightly sad and has a texture like wet concrete. Born in London in 1979 with high-functioning autism and synesthesia, Daniel's brain creates a visual and emotional landscape where mathematics becomes art and calculations become stories unfolding in his mind. This isn't just an interesting quirk. Daniel's mathematical abilities are so extraordinary that they've redefined what scientists thought was possible for human computation. In 2004, Daniel recited the mathematical constant pi to 22,514 decimal places from memory. The recitation took him over 5 hours. He never made a single mistake. But here's what makes Daniel's achievement truly impossible. He doesn't memorize numbers in the traditional sense. He sees them. Pi, to Daniel, looks like a beautiful, never-ending landscape of shapes and colors flowing together in perfect harmony. Each digit creates a new visual element in this mathematical story. Neuroscientists at Cambridge University studied Daniel's brain for years, using the most advanced imaging technology available. What they discovered challenged fundamental assumptions about how human brains process information. Daniel's brain shows connections between regions that simply don't exist in neurotypical humans. The areas responsible for numbers, colors, emotions, and spatial reasoning are all interconnected in Daniel's mind, creating a unified sensory experience that allows him to perform calculations that would require computers for most people. Give Daniel any multiplication problem, 37 times 68, and he doesn't calculate the answer. He sees it. The two numbers create shapes in his mind that merge together, forming a new shape that represents the answer, 2,516. The entire process happens instantly, without conscious effort. Daniel can perform calendar calculations spanning centuries, determine whether massive numbers are prime, and solve complex mathematical problems that would challenge professional mathematicians, all by watching the shapes and colors dance in his mind. But perhaps most remarkably, Daniel has learned to communicate his internal mathematical world to others. He's written books describing his synesthetic experiences and has helped researchers understand how his brain creates these impossible connections. Yet for all of Daniel's mathematical superpowers, his abilities seem almost mundane compared to our next person, a woman whose brain refuses to let her forget a single moment of her existence. Jill Price, the woman who can't forget. Jill Price remembers every single day of her life since she was 14 years old. Not just the important moments, everything. What she wore, what she ate, what the weather was like, every conversation she had, every emotion she felt, every song she heard on the radio. This isn't the kind of good memory that helps you remember where you put your keys. This is a relentless, overwhelming flood of perfect autobiographical memory that never stops. Jill experiences every day of her past as vividly as if it were happening right now. Pick any random date since 1980, March 15th, 1994. Without hesitation, Jill can tell you it was a Tuesday. She wore a blue sweater with small white buttons. It rained lightly in the afternoon around 2:30 p.m. She had an argument with her sister about borrowing a book. She ate a turkey sandwich for lunch. The radio played The Sign by Ace of Base 3 times during her commute. People assumed this level of memory would be a gift. For Jill, it's a curse that has shaped every aspect of her existence. She relives every heartbreak, every embarrassment, every moment of physical pain, every loss, every disappointment as if it happened yesterday. The emotional weight of decades of experiences crashes over her simultaneously every single day. UCLA researchers discovered that Jill has highly superior autobiographical memory, known as HSAM. Only 79 people in the world have been confirmed to have this condition. It's so rare that scientists are still trying to understand what causes it. Brain scans reveal that Jill's temporal lobe and caudate nucleus, regions responsible for memory storage and retrieval, are significantly enlarged compared to normal brains. But here's what's truly terrifying. Scientists have no idea why her brain developed this way, how the condition works, or whether it can be turned off. Jill doesn't just remember events, she re-experiences them with full emotional intensity. A breakup from 1987 feels as painful today as it did 36 years ago. The joy of her wedding day in 1993 is as vivid and overwhelming now as it was then. She lives every day of her past simultaneously with her present. The psychological toll is immense. Jill struggles with depression and anxiety, not because of current circumstances, but because she's constantly bombarded with the emotional residue of every difficult moment she's ever experienced. Therapy is complicated because she can't move past traumatic events. They remain eternally present in her consciousness. Yet Jill's perfect memory has also revealed fascinating insights about how human memory normally works. Most people's memories fade and change over time, becoming less accurate but more emotionally manageable. Jill's memories remain perfectly preserved, showing researchers what human memory looks like without the protective filter of time. But if you think carrying the weight of perfect memory is overwhelming, wait until you meet our next person, a man whose brain can capture and reproduce visual information with photographic precision that surpasses any camera ever built. Stephen Wiltshire, the human camera. Stephen Wiltshire is autistic and communicates primarily through his art rather than words. But give him a single 20-minute helicopter ride over any major city, and he'll draw every building, every window, every architectural detail, every street sign, and every vehicle from memory with accuracy that defies human capability. Stephen's ability isn't just impressive, it's impossible according to everything we know about human visual processing and memory. In 2005, Stephen took his first helicopter flight over Manhattan. For 20 minutes, he observed the city from above, taking no photographs, making no notes, just looking. Then he sat down with a pen and paper and began to draw. For the next 5 days, working from nothing but the image burned into his mind from that brief helicopter ride, Stephen created a masterpiece that redefined what human memory could achieve. The result was a 19-foot-long drawing containing every skyscraper, every street, every architectural detail of Manhattan. When researchers compared Stephen's drawing to satellite images and architectural surveys, they found it was 99.9% accurate. He had captured details that even longtime residents of New York City had never noticed. But Stephen's Manhattan drawing was just the beginning. He's since drawn London, Rome, Tokyo, Hong Kong, Dubai, and dozens of other cities, all from single helicopter rides, all with the same impossible accuracy. Neuroscientists call Stephen's condition savant syndrome, but that label doesn't explain how his brain actually works. Advanced brain imaging shows that Stephen's visual cortex operates differently from typical brains, but researchers still can't explain how he processes and stores visual information with such precision. Stephen notices every line, every shadow, every proportion, every architectural detail that most people's brains automatically filter out as unimportant. His mind is like a biological camera that never stops recording, but unlike a camera, Stephen's brain can instantly access and reproduce any image he's ever seen. What makes Stephen's ability even more remarkable is the speed at which he works. While drawing his cityscapes, Stephen's hand moves with mechanical precision, as if he's tracing over an invisible photograph. He rarely pauses, rarely corrects mistakes, and never needs reference materials. Stephen's drawings have become so renowned that he's been commissioned by governments and corporations to create artistic representations of their cities. His work hangs in galleries worldwide. But for Stephen, drawing isn't art. It's simply how his brain processes and communicates visual information. Yet, for all the wonder of Stephen's photographic memory, his ability seems almost conventional compared to our final person, a woman whose claimed power is so controversial that it has divided the scientific community and sparked debates about the very nature of human perception. Natasha Demkina, the girl with X-ray vision. Natasha Demkina claims she can see inside human bodies with her naked eyes, not metaphorically, not intuitively, literally. She says she can observe organs, bones, blood vessels, tumors, and injuries simply by looking at people as if their skin were transparent. Born in Saransk, Russia in 1987, Natasha's alleged ability manifested when she was just 10 years old. The first sign came when she told her mother she could see 2 hearts beating inside her chest, an observation that made no sense until medical tests revealed her mother had a rare cardiac condition where part of her heart had duplicated. Word of Natasha's supposed gift spread quickly through Russia. Desperate patients began traveling hundreds of miles seeking her diagnosis. According to documented cases, Natasha correctly identified cancers, broken bones, organ damage, and internal injuries with 85% accuracy, far beyond what chance or educated guessing could explain. Russian medical professionals were baffled. Dr. Irina Kachan, a physician who worked with Natasha, documented dozens of cases where the young woman identified medical conditions that were later confirmed by X-rays, MRIs, and surgical procedures. When Western scientists learned about Natasha in 2004, they designed controlled tests to verify her claims. The results were complicated and controversial. In some tests, Natasha performed remarkably well, identifying specific medical conditions with startling accuracy. In others, her performance was no better than random guessing. The scientific community remains deeply divided about Natasha's abilities. Skeptics argue that her successes can be explained by cold reading, lucky guesses, and confirmation bias. They point to her test failures as evidence that her claimed abilities are fraudulent. Believers counter that Natasha's consistent accuracy in real-world medical situations cannot be dismissed. They argue that laboratory conditions might interfere with whatever mechanism allows her to perceive internal body structures. Today, Natasha continues to practice in Russia, where thousands of patients swear by her diagnoses. She claims her ability has evolved and strengthened over time, allowing her to see increasingly subtle medical conditions. Whether Natasha's abilities are real or imagined, her case raises profound questions about the limits of human perception and the possibility that some individuals might possess sensory capabilities that science has yet to understand or explain. Conclusion: 5 people, 5 impossible abilities, 5 mysteries that challenge everything we think we know about human potential. Wim Hof controls his body temperature and immune system with his mind, defying the basic principles of human physiology. Daniel Tammet sees mathematics as living art, performing calculations that should require computers. Jill Price remembers every moment she's ever lived with perfect clarity, carrying the emotional weight of decades simultaneously. Stephen Wiltshire draws entire cities from memory with photographic accuracy that surpasses any camera. And Natasha Demkina claims to see through human skin, diagnosing medical conditions with her eyes alone. Science has studied them all. Science has no answers. These 5 individuals force us to confront an uncomfortable truth. We may know far less about human potential than we believe. If these abilities are real, and the evidence suggests they are, then the boundaries of what humans can achieve might be far broader than we ever imagined. Which raises the most terrifying question of all. If these 5 people can do the impossible, what other powers are hiding in plain sight? What can the human brain really accomplish when the normal rules don't apply? And most importantly, could these abilities be lying dormant in all of us, waiting to be awakened? The answers to these questions might reshape our understanding of consciousness, biology, and the very nature of human existence. Until then, we're left with 5 people who prove that reality is far stranger than we ever dared to believe.